me back up here. So while I was here, and he was director, dude, the cultural shift from the previous director
Yeah.
to
I
him
remember you the previous
was
director.
massive. No, I'm talking about the guy that was the director before him.
Okay.
I won't name names because he had a pulse,
Unimportant.
right? His style was totally along with, if you're a hyper performer, you love that leadership.
Yeah.
If you are in the position at the Defense Intelligence Agency or any U.S. government employee that got into your position because in the 1980s you got in under that framework, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You don't like that because it requires performance, right?
God forbid.
And there's
government reforms.
and there's attention to your performance because there's flat comms. Everybody sees what everybody's doing. That's how you're not able to hide when you're like in a flat comms infrastructure, which you brought in from the JSOC days, right?
Yep.
I see that, I'm like, oh, this is great. And you hear rumblings, people just getting fired left and right because they're just not doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So he was going to try to bring that in, right?
He said he's
Later on in 2017, that mindset and that cultural ethos of cleaning up the entire national security apparatus. So back to here, if you're Obama and you're advising not only Trump but 3 or 4 other candidates.
We were talking to, I mean, any serious candidate at the time. I mean, what was it? Carly Fiorina, Cruz. Ben Carson.
That's what people don't remember.
Yeah. Trying to think of anybody else.
Well, I don't think it was really that publicized either.
Yeah.
But he was basically the national security go-to guy for all the serious candidates on the Republican ticket. And I remember distinctly, he's like one of the interviews. I think it was it Bill Maher? He says, "Where is that meeting?"
The Bill Maher interview.
The Bill Maher interview
was one of my favorites for sure.
It was pretty good because that was before they demonized him.
Yeah.
They're like, because I think your dad says, General Flynn says, I'm a pretty serious guy, so I called up Donald Trump and was like, "Are you serious about running for office? Because if you're not, then like, okay, great, because I'm a serious guy. Are you serious?" And then he gave him the indication that Trump was serious.
Yeah, and
that's when you guys jumped in.
Well, what was initially, only scheduled to be like a 20-30 minute meeting between them at Trump Tower in New York City, ended up being like a 2-hour long conversation because they had that much in common and they were both of the same mindset about what they wanted to do for the country.
Like Sebastian Gorka, I don't ever hear him say anything positive about anybody else except for like Trump. The only person I've heard him say something positive is literally, he said that the chemistry between those two was just like,
oh, they're still on a first name basis.
Bros, right?
Yeah, they're still on a first name basis. Which is pretty wild to think about, given that they are 2 of the most politically persecuted people on planet Earth. I mean, Trump obviously more so, but I want to bring.
Oh.
I wanted to,
Please, go ahead.
I mean, this picture right here in particular that's probably one of the biggest pieces of propaganda that's still to this day continues to be used against obviously General Flynn, but just our family in general when it comes to being quote unquote Russia agents. But that's the picture that it drove me crazy, knowing that they tried to make it out to be like we, had some agenda, like we called up the friggin' Kremlin ahead of time. We're like, let's have, Putin and General Flynn, sit and look like they're having dinner and all that. And I was like, no,
it's so ridiculous.
This was a speaking event.
So
yeah,
tell us about. There's a speakers bureau that every retired general officer goes.
Leading Authorities International is one of the most high-profile speakers bureaus in DC, probably the country. I mean, you can go on that website now and look at like guys like McCabe. I mean, all these like deep state players have what they're all contracted with these with these speaking bureaus, and they actually says like what they charge for certain events. And so we were contracted with them, and
so they match a speaker with whoever's asking them to connect them with, right?
And so that particular event, it was Russia Television's 10th anniversary. It was like a gala, kind of celebratory event. Now the media made it out to be like we friggin' were going over there to celebrate Russia. But my father actually used it as an opportunity to go talk about I think it's like some plane had just been shot down like over Turkey or some. I don't know if it was a Russian plane or there was something that happened that he wanted to go there and talk about. But he also used it as an opportunity to talk about Russia, United States relations, and like that whole story got left out of
totally.
of that that particular picture. That particular picture right there. I mean, because I think he's maybe smiling a little bit, so it's like, oh, they're having a great time at dinner. Must
My
mean that.
question is, who's taking the picture?
Well, all I know is that there was a ton of media in the room that night. I'm sitting in the very back of that room. I'm at the same table with Jesse the Body Ventura, his son, his son's wife. I'm actually sitting next to Max Blumenthal, who's a.
Because you're over here, right, at the table.
No, I'm
Or you're at a different table?
I'm kind of like in the very back, yeah.
And then Jill Stein is there.
Oh yeah.
Another presidential candidate.
Yeah. I mean, it was for a piece of propaganda that that it's actually a really good piece of propaganda. I mean,
But I remember you told me this a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So you guys sit down, and no one expected Putin to be there, right?
No. So I was initially told that like the president, was going to be there, but I'm thinking that it's like the president of RT because it's Russian television's 10th anniversary. And next thing you know, there's like everybody stands up and like there's like just a line of friggin' I don't know what you call them, like the Secret Service or whatever you call Russian Secret Service. And the next thing you know, little Putin just comes walking. I mean, he's like this. I'm talking about he's like this tall. But he's
shorter than me.
The presence he commands, man, it's crazy. He gets there, he goes and sits at that table. He's probably at that table for maybe 15, 20 minutes before he gets up on stage, gives his little, speech about Russian television, and then he walks off stage and he's out. He was probably there for, I don't know, maybe less than an hour. But again, the United States media, I mean, really.
So if he's sitting there for 15 minutes, how much interaction is going on between those two, other than
the only thing that I remember General Flynn saying was that Putin's English is actually a lot better than it's made out to be. Like he actually can speak pretty good English, so which is why like the Tucker interview, and I guess I kind of get why they had to do use the earpieces and everything like that, but Putin can speak pretty good English.
But he probably wants to get precise.
Yeah, but it's not. But again, it's like there was things going on stage that like you can see in that picture that they're both looking up on stage, so it's not like they're sitting there. Coordinating, an attack on the United States. Again, I say that glibly because that's what the global media, when this kind of came out, when that picture started surfacing everywhere, that's what they would make you believe. They would make you believe that, like, there was some coordination, like, oh yeah, we hung out with Putin afterward. I mean, the stories that came from that picture alone were just unbelievable. And not to mention, it was never brought up that like we had to do a debrief afterwards. I was part of the debrief. I remember, the names of the agents that I sat down at the table with, to talk about like, hey, well, this is what we did. This is where we went. Here's my USB drive. Here's every picture that I took. I mean, what being debriefed is.
Yeah, totally above board, transparent.
Yeah. And none of that. So none of that was ever
mentioned publicly.
Yeah.
Ever.
The only thing that came out of that trip was literally that picture. So I point that picture out because out of all this stuff on the wall right here, that's one of the more significant things that
they still play.
Yeah,
they still play to this day.
Yeah, I mean, if General Flynn posts anything, or if any of our family posts anything, that picture is like by the trolls or whatever out there, they will always throw that picture back. Oh yeah, aren't you the guy that that's best friends with Putin? It's like no, not best friends.